players, we have got a trade for Shane McAdam and Mitch McGovern. And this is the three-way trade involving Sydney as well. Adelaide, they get Shane McAdam. Carlton, they get Mitch McGovern. Sydney, they get a bunch of picks. Mitch McGovern, look, Carlton lose this trade big time. Massive trade loss. They do get McGovern, but they give up a fuck ton for him. Pick 13's involved in that. McAdam with Sydney. Sydney dub up this trade as well as Adelaide. McAdam's been pretty decent for Adelaide. Obviously now is at Melbourne, I believe. But McGovern, I mean, what a guy. I mean, he was so good for Adelaide. So much promise. Obviously, his older brother, Jeremy McGovern, is just a star player. And he goes to Carlton, where people believe he's going to flourish. He's on a massive contract, and Carlton lose his trade. I mean, in terms of the Mitch McGovern trade, we'll do this one in isolation, not together like the other ones, because they do play for different clubs. The Mitch McGovern trade gets an F, like a complete fail of a trade. He could turn that into an E, maybe a D if he starts to play good footy, but, you know, he's never shown to be the player that he promised. And Shane McAdam, we'll give that trade a B. Nothing too special about that, but Adelaide definitely dub up. Carlton lose, and Sydney are just sort of there, kind of winning. Next up, we have got a trade which took Gary Rohan from Sydney to Geelong. Pretty simple one here. Gary Rohan went to Geelong for pick 61. Now, at the time, it makes sense. Gary Rohan is such an interesting player where he can be so good, yet so bad. Like in grand finals or big games, he disappears, and then, you know, sometimes he turns into prime Ronaldo, prime Messi. I mean, this guy looks like the best player in the comp. Geelong definitely win this trade purely because he's played nearly 90 games. He was there during that flag season for the flag, and he's been a pretty decent performer for them, albeit there have been question marks, but that's what you get with Gary Rohan. I think this trade, in terms of Geelong and what they got, he's played well, probably gets an A, but I mean, Sydney didn't have a choice to get rid of him though. Pretty boring trade next. Ryan Clark, he went from North Melbourne to Sydney. He's played 60 games for Sydney, nearly, and North Melbourne got picked 61. Fail, big L, big L. I mean, Sydney basically have used this trade to get him in. Big L for North Melbourne, I think. You know what, actually, it's not even a big L. What the fuck am I talking about? Ryan Clark's just been a role player for them. He's probably worth pick 61. I'll give this trade a I was originally thinking C+. Maybe that's a bit harsh because he has played a lot, but you know what? We'll stick with a C+. The next trade involves Tom Hickey, who went to one of his 4 clubs. Tom Hickey went to West Coast from St Kilda during this trade period. A lot of picks involved. Pick 39 in round 4 went to St Kilda. West Coast got Hickey, pick 60, and a round 4. Effectively, you're getting Hickey and pick 60 for a pick 39. Pretty minimal trade here. West Coast probably win this trade, but St Kilda, I'm not sure who they use pick 39 for. It doesn't say here. Usually it does. But West Coast, they got a decent player. Let's give that trade a B. Next up, we got a pick that, or trade that involves Dan Hanbury. An unfortunate trade because didn't really do much for St Kilda. I mean, he was so injured at Sydney. He needed a change of scenery, I guess. St Kilda got Hanbury.